Hello and welcome back to the Go-Karts and Good Times YouTube channel. Today is going to be a little bit different, as you can obviously tell by the thumbnail. While I do have many other hobbies unrelated to go-karts, dirt bikes, motorcycles, and cars, I've only featured those so far on the channel, but now that's going to change. While nobody's going to be surprised by this, because of the thumbnail and title, here it is. My new boat. While it's in pretty rough shape, I only got it for $80 and it should be great for fishing or for days out on the water. While it didn't come with an engine or a trailer, it came with steering, throttle, a windshield, and an anchor. Interestingly enough, this boat that came all the way from Treasure Island, Florida has a name, Little Wing. All that's left to do is get this thing gutted and cleaned out. After spending a couple hours with the power washer, the boat was finally clean, though most of the paint remains. Tomorrow, I will begin disassembly and hopefully paint removal so that I can get right along with the process. The inside clean and dry, now I can lay the boat back down and start ripping out all the stuff I want to remove. I will be removing the steering because with the way I'm modifying the boat, it'll be much easier to start fresh than reuse old stuff. Unfortunately, someone installed non-corrosion resistant hardware, as in not stainless and not aluminum, which will cause me some problems, as can be seen with the old seat hardware. I'm not sure if I said it before, but I'm going to be replacing every wooden part of this boat. The funny thing is that at the outset of this project, I felt a little bit bad about destroying a perfectly good boat. Or at least I was told. I knew the seats were bad, and I knew that some of the wood was kind of gross and at least faded, but I did not know that it had literally turned to soil in some spots. So at this point, after struggling with it, I really don't care. This boat was never great, and it was destined for the scrapyard by the other people that are going to buy it from the guy. So I'm just happy I can turn it into something usable, something decent. Dealing with rotted hardware and rotted wood at the back almost became comical, as almost every bolt snapped. And I don't really feel that bad because I was planning to gut it and make it my own anyway. So it doesn't really make a difference to me. While I don't mean to rant, I do believe that was important to be said about the video and the project. I think next I'm going to clean out the inside so I can start rebuilding. While I wasn't able to get many parts for the boat, only finding a light, I did manage to find this cool steering wheel in a Jetta GLX. It's essentially a Nardi, and I got it for only $8, so well worth it. From the junkyard to Lowe's, our primary objective here is getting paint stripper, but I'm also considering the types of wood I can use for the seats and the front deck. The biggest problem is considering cost effectiveness versus buying the right quality wood. Sitting here pondering my options, I think I'll save this for another day because I'll definitely be back. With the paint stripper on deck, all we have to do is to move the boat, apply it, and wait 30 minutes before doing a test scrape and then scraping all the paint off. With the paint remover applied, all that's left to do is wait before we can scrape it off and maybe do another round. It's finally time to see if this was all worth it. The remover did perform okay. I think we're going to do another round and this time leave it to sit for much longer. After letting a diluted mixture sit on it overnight, I'm not sure if it did much more work than the original pass. Well, it did do something, it didn't do much. I think next I'll move on to some different chemicals that I think will make the paint weak so I can blast it off. Because I feel like I've had enough time lapse of me applying paint stripper and then scratching and pressure washing it off, I'm not going to be taking one this time, but I'm going to try to use a combination of things to get the remaining paint off the boat. Finally, having acquired real paint stripper and some tools to help me get this paint off, I think it should come right off. Again, as they say, third try's the charm. But as I've already done this twice, I'm not going to record it for redundancy. You know the process, wipe on and scrape off. It almost feels like deja vu at this point, but I'm back for another day of stripping, and hopefully I'll put in a good amount of work today. While it is a more powerful tool than I originally wanted to use, I used the palm sander to sand the back of the boat as a test after using up all my chemical stripper. As you can see, it worked okay, but it really didn't work very well. So I'll probably be using the palm sander for most of the rest of this, then using blasting media to get into crevices and around rivets. Fortunately, I haven't made a lot of progress over the last few days, but I have an important development. I was finally able to get in contact with someone on Facebook who's trying to get rid of a trailer with a junk boat on it. Fortunately, I think I can use this trailer and I can use parts from this boat. The issue with this is that the tires on the trailer are flat and this is my only means of pumping air. So I'll have to find someone with a portable air pump or compressor that I can bring and use with a power inverter. I'm still not sure how I'm going to lump the videos, but this is an exciting find because it'll help me put this setup together for cheap. Somehow we made it home without any blowouts or serious issues. And while the tires are holding on by a thread, at the edge of popping most likely, they did hold air for most of the way home, or at least just enough to get us there. And then there were two. Even though I'm not going to be able to use many of the parts off this boat, the trailer does really look pretty good. I might have to replace some of the rollers or put runners on to replace them. And the wiring on the trailer is definitely pretty hacked up, but with a coat of paint and a once over, I think it'll be just perfect, albeit a little bit big for the boat. My next order of business is washing this boat off and assessing whether it can be given away, sold, or whatnot, and seeing what condition it is. Honestly, I don't think it looks that much better after a wash. It's still filthy and it's still full of garbage. Having removed the steering assembly on boat number 2, I've basically done everything I can. Now, just to get back to sanding. 2 hours and a pack of sanding discs later, I have to stop because of rain. Another day of sanding. From the last clip to now, a lot of time has passed and a lot of things have changed in that time. I stand here now next to the boat, which has had some progress in the past weeks, but not a lot, as I'm not even done sanding it and it's been over a month. At the outset of this project, I was motivated and was making good progress, and I also thought that I'd be able to get people to help out with the boat and the trailer restoration. However, with bigger things on the horizon, like school, getting my motorcycle done, and worrying about having a reliable means of transportation, this has fallen to the wayside. My initial goal was to get it done by the end of the summer, but as I started removing paint, it proved to be much more difficult than I had initially assumed, and this meant delaying the completion of the project. Over the past of nearly a month, almost no progress has been made, and I thought I'd cap the video off that has been sitting on my hard drive, edited for all this time. You'll also see here that I got rid of the junk boat and have the trailer at least cleaned off so that I can start working on that, which will be the topic of another video. Fortunately, by the end of this video, there's no crazy transformation, but I at least wanted to document my progress on the project. This brings me to my final issue. With school, sports, and a job to worry about, I don't even know if I'll have the time to work on this, let alone more important projects like my motorcycle. Also, with winter looming on the horizon, I don't know where I'll store it, and if I'll be able to work on it over the winter. Taking up space as an eyesore in the yard, having this just sit here is not an agreeable option for my parents, which unfortunately brings me to the option of selling it. Now, I'm not saying I'm necessarily going to, but it has something that's crossed my mind and crossed their minds as it continues to sit here and make little progress. While you may chalk it up to pure laziness, the scale of this project and the repetitiveness of doing a task like stripping years and decades of paint off this boat have made it less enjoyable and less feasible for me. While the trailer is mostly mechanically sound, I feel bad selling the project in this condition, which makes me consider how much I want to get done on it before selling it, or if I want to sell it at all with all the parts invested. And while I would just say I'll put the project off until next summer, choice is ultimately up to my parents. Hopefully, me and my parents can come to some kind of conclusion on what the future of this project holds soon, but for now, I guess it's just going to sit here. In the meantime, however, I continue to work on the motorcycle and I ride the mini bike regularly. I wouldn't give up hope just yet because I still don't know the future of the project, but this is how it sits now. While this may be a little out of place, I noticed while editing the video that I never showed you how much I've actually spent on parts for the boat. At the start of this project, I also wanted to do things a little bit different by keeping track of every dollar I spent and paying for it all myself. Starting with little things like a $10 hook or a couple of boxes of aluminum hardware. All these little things eventually added up to a bill of around $500. Going part by part, I spent nearly $200 on things like aluminum washers, nuts, bolts, and different size and shape rivets to do metal repair and replace all the hardware on the boat. Then, spending $60 on gray and $25 on red paint, and another $25 on a new wiring harness to replace the old beat up one that's on the trailer. Again, while this seems like a small pile of things, all of this adds up to a lot. That being said, the total didn't include things I already had, like standing discs or tools, but it did include things like the paint stripper and some of the other supplies I had to buy to strip the paint or otherwise clean the boat. Also not including things like labor or the extra money we threw the guy to have him drop it off, the total is exactly $510. While that may seem like a lot for a small pile of parts, an empty boat carcass, and a crappy trailer, it's basically everything I need to get the boat fully operational, besides of course a motor. In terms of motor, however, I was looking for something anywhere from 20 to 30 horsepower, which is the boat's maximum. With a budget of $700 to $800, this really isn't bad for the money, especially considering when similar spec boats in similar condition around here would cost nearly twice the price, if not more. All things considered, I think I did pretty well with the budget on this project, and if I decide to sell it now, hopefully I can break even or make a tiny bit of profit for my efforts. However, if I end up going through with it, I think I'll have a nice little fishing boat that rips on the water. And if I decide to sell it farther into the future, I should come out way ahead. Hopefully you gained something from this video, and if you enjoyed, I'd appreciate it if you liked, commented, or even subscribed. Hopefully the wind noise wasn't too bad, and unfortunately, for now, I really don't have all the answers. For those of you still in school like me, hopefully you can make the most of it despite the current situation and start this year off on the right foot. As for now, this is me signing off.